So hold on. All right, welcome to our member call on how to make hybrid meetings better. Let me start by just handing it over to Thomas Dugaro from Gruner Jahr.
Yeah, hi there. I'm Thomas from Hamburg, Gruner Jahr, part of RTL Germany, so big, very big media company in Germany. So I'm going to share with you today what do we have in mind? Why are we taking care of this so much, of this specific topic? What is it part of? Just a little bit of the larger view in the beginning. And then, of course, what do I have to consider? What is reasonable for preparation and organization of hybrid meetings and technology? First up, I would like to say hybrid meetings are an emerging practice, let's say. So take it easy on yourself. Like Janus just said, there's no recipe yet. The books are in the writing, in the making. So I think that's why it's so important to exchange and to share what we have learned until now. Like I said, just a little tour. It's hybrid meetings for us are part of a bigger emerging practice, which is hybrid work. So just a really quick insight into how we look at hybrid work, just to give you an idea why we take so much time and effort trying to make hybrid meetings good as well. Here you can see this is outside of our office building in Hamburg. These are real people from our company working outside, and they use this little trolley that you can see here to go outside and have a meeting outside. And I thought this was just a good introduction for us. Hybrid work or distributed work, or however you call it, is just here to stay. We are now, like I said, we are now part of a company, RTL. So we have two main headquarters, and there will always be the situation where people are in different places. So and what's very important for us is we're a media company, and we're competing with, if we're only looking at our offices or at our headquarters and the cities when our headquarters are in, we are competing with a lot of other companies when it comes to technology skills, when it comes to media skills, when it comes to data skills. So for us, hybrid work is not only a necessity, but only necessity of location. It's not just a question of location, but we would have no chance against the other players. So that's why we're trying to make it as good as we can. Just as an introduction, I said meetings are part of it, but we're also looking a lot into asynchronous work and focus time as the other major parts for us of what makes hybrid work a good experience. Of course, and in the beginning, trust is the most important thing. The firm belief that everyone wants the same thing and works together for the same goals, for common goals. So this is the basis of any kind of cooperation. And to do this, goals must be named and goals must be shared. Overarching goals, project goals, weekly goals, doesn't matter. So that everybody knows what's important right now and what are we actually working on together. And then we said that there are three different key elements. We called them, like I said, meetings, asynchronous, and focus time. And asynchronous for us is really important because we say it allows you to get into your flow, whatever your business is, whatever your tasks are. You can really carry out difficult, valuable, meaningful parts of your activity, and it leaves us some time for reflection for ourselves, for a team. And focus time on the other end is, let's say, a symbol for us for asynchronous work, because it means it's really the time when we're not disrupted by anybody else, and it's like, let's say, having the time to do what you want undisturbed. And you all know that when you're in days of back-to-back meetings, focus time and doing what you want undisturbed is very satisfying, and it should be protected. But anyways, meetings are here. Meetings are the most common form of synchronous collaboration. And we all know life's too short for bad meetings, and that counts especially for hybrid meetings. So let's have a look into that. We have an overarching question. Let's say, how can I, it's called, how can I do this work? How can I do this task without calling a meeting? So let's say, just to have something that already signals, let's avoid meeting all the time. And so we have this little chart. It's one of some charts that we are using and we are spreading and communicating about a lot. When is a meeting actually a good idea? And you will probably all know that when you're talking about information, and information should primarily be shared and maybe not in a meeting. When you're deciding together, it gets rather into meeting, and when you're trying to find out ways of working, and when you're trying to change things, it's better to have a meeting. So just to give you some frame which we are thinking in, let's say. So meeting, focus time, asynchronous work, and then when you're looking at meetings, how can I avoid having a meeting? But then if we have a meeting, let's see how we do that. We try to do that. So they are a form of collaboration. The advantages is all participants come together at the same time, obviously, and possibly it's very effective on joint processing and also strengthening of cooperation. So on collaboration. So it's also got a lot to do with feelings. Obviously, the disadvantages are all participants come together at the same time. As a rule, it's high resource consumptions, and it's what I think is very important to understand. It has a very high structural impact. Many meetings can result in too little time for unstructured individual work. So we try to give some advice. And here are a few tips when it comes to hybrid meetings. Flip charts are so pre-pandemic. Here you can see, I in the background, you can see, you always see actual meeting rooms in our office. So if you see something you would like to understand better, let me know. This is one of the only ones, of the few ones I found with still a flip chart. But still, if you have a hybrid meeting, one overarching question or goal, which is very hard to attain, is that make sure that everyone has the same conditions as good as you can. So that means you don't discriminate the people, or you don't tend to discriminate the people who are in your room or somewhere else. May that be at home or on the beach or wherever they chose to join. So that means have an agenda visible. Have images of everyone who's joining visible for all. That means, for example, don't have 5 people joining remotely on the small laptop here and share the documents on the big screen, but rather the other way around. Make the people who are not in the room visible, but also the other way around. Make the people visible who are in the room for everybody else. That means you should have a good camera. Obviously, maybe you have a camera that's following people. I come back to the more technique specifications later. So moderation. Is it facilitation? I'm never sure about the English word. If you have a bigger meeting, try to make sure you actually have 2 people facilitating, one in the room and one online. The best hybrid meetings I have had so far had 2 of those people, making sure they work with each other all the time. They communicate a lot, and they make sure that they take care of the remotees, we call them, and they take care of the roomies. Because if you're only one, you will always have to switch between the two if you can. Obviously, that's another person joining. Agree how you deal with hand signals. Does that count for everybody else, or just the remotees because they have the function in Teams? Please use a shared whiteboard and don't use anything in the room that makes it hard for everybody else to follow. Take minutes during a meeting so that everybody can see, even if they left for really quick, or even if they're not, especially if they're not sure if they heard everything perfectly. Like think of a live tracker. Try to make a live tracker of your meeting, of the relevant parts, of course, or optionally, like we do it right now, maybe record your meeting. Think about session evaluation. Like we have a small form that everybody can, a Microsoft Forms form that everybody can throw into the meeting at the end. Did you like it? Were you well prepared? Did you have everything? And would you like to come again? And is there anything else you would like to let us know? Use these little things in preparation and in after working after the meeting. Have a meeting meter, maybe work with time boxing. As a moderator, as an organizer, start the appointment a bit in advance. Well done, Janus.
Thank you.
It's usually a good space for some small talk, like today. Decision making is really important. Ensure you have a lot of transparency in decision making so that none of the two groups has the impression that it is somehow being not heard or discriminated again. Make summaries or interim results visible for everybody. And also give some thought in the camera off moment. I don't know if that's something that everybody knows, that the term. We're working in media, and if you're doing an interview and you're recording someone with the camera or even without the camera, and you switch off the recording method, that's the camera off moment, when sometimes the best things come just when you switched off the camera. And or maybe if you've been host or guest in a podcast, maybe you know also what I'm talking about. Oh yeah, so we're done with the podcast. You switch off the recording, and then the really important things come out. Try to give some room, and for both of them, because it's important to have those little moments of uncontrolled, let's say, uncontrolled creative communication. It's also another thing why I said maybe you have two moderators for both groups, let's say. And another thing, if you're a moderator or organizer, if you regularly lead or organize hybrid meetings, make sure you switch sometimes. Make sure you switch between a roomie, being yourself the roomie, or being yourself the remotie, because that will help you understand the difficulties either of the groups can have a lot better. If you're always in the room and you always wonder why it's so hard for the remotees, you will never understand. Just find out yourself. Yeah, and then a last thing, try to avoid multitasking. You all know that, and I think it's especially hard during hybrid meetings, because it's so easy to drift away for the remotees. So try to think which is the best time. I think best time is right afternoon, after the lunch dip. And remember, the longer the meeting and the more participants, the higher is the likelihood that participants will do something else in the meantime. So that's just one of the few things that are actually annoying when you're doing it, when you're in remote meetings, and just get worse when you're in hybrid situations. So like I said, what's annoying in remote will kill you in hybrid. So there's also some technical advice here. Here you can see in the background It's one of my favorite rooms. We have a G&J right now. It's equipped with a Teams room system. So you just walk into the room, you hit a button, and you're inside the meeting. And it's, yeah, technology has to be as easy as possible. You can see we try to avoid the table situations of a typical on-premise meeting or physical meeting, but rather have like this open semicircle as a new arrangement, seating arrangement, a standard seating arrangement actually for hybrid meetings. I think that's very important. Try to try to get good technology. Like I said, we're investing in Teams room systems. We're investing in cameras which have these automatic tracking features because it's really easy to use, and it's really helpful for the remotees to have zoom in and out on the people who are actually speaking. But also try to make sure that everybody at home has some good equipment too. So if you're working for a company, don't leave those people out. And so we are always extending our standard equipment for people at home, having lights and cameras and everything around that. So remotees should see all attendees, like I said. All the remote participants should always be visible, like I said. So as a thumb rule, 2 participants can easily be recognized on a screen. So if you have more and more and more people, it's getting worse and worse and worse, of course. So think about that before you go to a meeting room. How many screens are there? Is it enough if I have one big screen, or do I need, for this meeting, do I need more than one screen? As you can see here, this is a rather small room, but there's already 2 big screens. So especially if you're doing, if you're the organizer, please make sure you know what's in the room. Please make sure you've tested those things before, and don't just walk into the room and find out 5 minutes before the meeting how these things are working. It's going to be a disaster for everyone. When working together on documents in distributed meetings, I think it's advisable that all participants, including those in the room, dial into the meeting and follow what's happening on the document, because it's better if you. I found it happened to me also. If you share the document on the big screen, you immediately forget the people who are not on the screen anymore. So leave the people on the screen and rather work on a document together on your small laptop. That's a lot easier, and people will not start to make noises saying, "Hey, we're still here. Can it be you're sharing something else and not us?" And another little really practical thing is the use of paper should really be avoided. This applies to flip charts or post-its, etc. All this must be digitized. The use of paper is really discriminating the people who are not in the room. Of course, try to make sure you have good conference speakers and a microphone that's really able to capture all the voices in the room and not just the one sitting in front of the microphone. Try that before. Check if you have meeting owls or something like that. If you have those cameras, talk to your IT department. Make sure the lighting conditions are good. Make sure all faces are clearly visible, and that also counts for the remotees. Make sure to not have a large, bright light source, aka window, right behind you, because that's gonna hurt everyone's eyes after a couple of minutes who are looking at the screen. It's so easy, but try to avoid that. After 2 years, maybe somebody has not told you yet, but sitting in front of a window is not really nice. And of course, things like whiteboards and online whiteboard tools like Miro or Mural can really help you conduct even well-prepared larger meetings or workshops. But now I'm talking about meetings. Workshops is a different animal. So we've also written down a few of the biggest don'ts for hybrid meetings, and the biggest one is donuts for the roomies, I would say. Like, oh, hey, everybody else at home, we're having these great donuts here in the room. Oh, it's such a shame you can't be here. I'm really sorry for that. Oh, you wanted some coffee? Oh, please try to avoid those little traps. Like I said, paper is another one. Try to avoid paper. And yeah, the laptop, the classical laptop, I tried to choose this picture here, the classical laptop perched at the end of the table with the participants and the video feeds of the remote participants, or the classical laptop webcam, which with a bowling alley view of the roomies, and the microphone and the speaker provide only good facilities for the one right in front of it. So really try to think of the room itself and not just throw everyone in a classical meeting room. And the last one, yeah, share the results of the meeting in different forms. Take pictures of the whiteboards of the room and send them home, and everybody else gets a written PDF document. No, please treat everyone as much as you can the same. So to sum it up, there's another little chart that helps us understand. Here I say, the bumpier your experience or the bumpier the ride you think you have in front of yourself in your meeting, the more I would say go for a meeting in presence or in remote, but like I said, in that sense, not distributed. So this is also helping you to when to not do a hybrid meeting at all if you can. If you're in a familiar surrounding and everybody knows each other and there's high trust, it's okay. If they're familiar processes and you're talking about factual issues, you can do it. But if the more it gets into conflict, the more it gets into unfamiliar team, unfamiliar topics, unknown processes. So the higher the probability of some conflict and emotion. Don't try if you can avoid it. So give some advice to also for when not to try it. And I know if you look at these things, you will probably avoid the biggest traps and avoid the worst experience, and maybe you will be able to make them not completely suck, because the problem is with hybrid meetings, like I said, it's an emerging practice, but everyone has a first impression and a second impression, and if they are both bad, people tend to avoid them completely altogether. And that's really something that you would not like to happen, or especially we don't, because we say, these are my final notes, being good at hybrid work is really a chance. It's really a chance to maintain the freedom that we all gained with COVID, but and also to attract people who would not be able to join you if it's for a meeting or if it's for a proper job in your company. So I say being good at hybrid work is a chance, and the opposite is a risk. So
there you go, Thomas.
Try to put some effort in it.
That's right. Life is too short for bad meetings. There's some really good points in there, like how you elaborated further on the cookbook that we had a month or so ago, coming off from, I think, initially a SharePoint list or a SharePoint page.
Yeah.
Inside Gruner Jahr.
Yeah.
Very good. Thank you for sharing. We had a little bit of busy activity on the chat. Let me see.
I'm just going to stop sharing it. That's okay. And then
Yeah, that's fine. I think we had from Peter at the European Commission that Peter misses the days of COVID. But I think there was a serious comment therein as well. Peter, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, hi. Well, I mean, I have to travel now 1 hour and 3 minutes to the office and 1 hour and 3 minutes back, and I spend all my days in Teams meetings, which I could have done much better at home. In my line of work, which means collaboration, knowledge management, I don't have to be in the office, apart from meeting occasionally colleagues who are also here. But what we see for hybrid meetings, which is also at the Commission, is a big thing. So we have meeting rooms in Brussels and we have meeting rooms here, and the people join via meeting rooms. Some people are at home, some people are in the meeting room, some people are in their offices. They only work as long people are in teams and collaborate together over Teams. The moment they switch to a kind of private conversation in the room, you lose the context. And so for me, hybrid workings is a nice concept, but it still needs a lot of improvement. And don't get me wrong, the Commission has invested heavily into monitoring. So these meeting rooms are highest standard with superb cameras and everything is there, big screens and so on. It's just the people are not ready for this yet. But this is just my 5 cents of what I have learned so far.
Yeah, so there's the people element, huh? Then I think Guy Purcell, you joined from Radiometer Pharmaceutical Company. I think there was an interesting connection there with waterfall versus agile.
Yeah, I mean, structured agenda-based waterfall meetings where you have some kind of project manager driving everything versus putting the team together in chats where they're just-in-time communication, dependent on what their communication needs are. So that was just something I thought about together with my other comment, either all together or all apart. So if you start using new ways of communicating in Teams, for example, then you're already moving away from having to sit together physically. So you've started a journey on being more global, being more digital, but then you're trying to stay with the old school of having to meet physically. So what we've discussed in Radiometer is that let's get together for social gatherings because we're humans, but actually to be working effective, we don't maybe need to be together at the same time.
Yeah, totally agree. Yeah. But as you can, as you said, I think also Peter just said, I mean, we are talking about 7,500 people now, so they're all somewhere else in their minds. Like there are people who can't imagine ever coming back to the office, and there are people who can't wait to come back to the office. And if you ask, you will get any answer between 0 days and 5 days and whatever. So I think there will be some time for those companies like ours who have to live with all those different needs and different expectations, and also different knowledge of how things are working. So
very good comments. I think we made it right on time. I really appreciate this call, having a conversation about what is indeed, like you called it, Thomas, an emerging practice. Hearing also here at the end about the people element, made me think of like we've done meetings for so long, we've hopefully have gotten better at it, but here is something new. All of us need to learn. Our managers need to learn it. Our colleagues need to learn it. Finding the mute button and the unmute button. So I would say stay tuned, but I really appreciate Thomas sharing so openly with the community, and it was good to see also the photos of your fascinating office. Look forward to coming for a visit.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for interest.
That's all we have for now. Thank you very much. Stay in touch. I'll share the notes and the slides, hopefully, and then